Hello everyone, my name is Naveed Shahzad and I am I'm a Rails expert with 13 years of working experience in industry. Uh, I appreciate that you all take time to attend this webinar. I'll try to keep the intro part brief because I believe you all are not here to listen to like boring intros, but yet uh, I believe that's an integral part of the webinar to um, get a connection between me and between the presenter and the audience. So um, so let's like start uh, with um, post intro thing, and let's get to the question of the day. That like action cable in Rails and how evolution of action cable is made in Rails till date. So uh, that let's start with a little history. So first of all, like for the first time, Action Cable was introduced in Rails 5.0.0 Beta 1, and um, it's the first mature release of 5.0 had the new feature of Action Cable. The other major thing is how the need of Action Cable was um, arise and Rails. So primarily, Rails does not have an elegant way for sending push notification and for real-time communication. I actually built an application back in 2012 that require real-time communication between two or more different clients, like a multiplayer game. And for that, we were implementing that in Rails, and we don't have good options at that point in time. And uh, I have to use Phi at that time, and we now have services like Pusher as well that we need to use before Action Cable. But now Action Cable can bridge this gap. So that's the brief and little history of Action Cable, that how it came into being. If someone want to um, go in further details of the history, I would suggest to go to the Action Cable folder of Rails repository and see its commits history. It will reveal a lot about how it started and how it evolved. So that would be a great resource. And the next interesting thing would be what's under the hood, how all this action cable stuff is working, and um, so primarily it uses a few things. So first of all, the web server, the more I say application server um, that will be used with the Rails app, that must support rack, rack, rack socket hijacking API. I'll explain a bit in like later. And other than that, there are further components that make up this whole action cable work together. The most important of which is WebSocket protocol and Redis or Postgres PubSub. Uh, There is one other thing as well that it uses Ruby's concurrency for its async adapter as well. That's used in development and test environment. But for production, it supports two adapters at the moment, Redis and Postgres. I'll definitely be explaining things in upcoming slides, so that will decipher whatever is written here. So first of all, we need to understand what is the WebSocket protocol. So WebSocket is So before that, I assume that most of my audience know what HTTP protocol is. And just to do a recap, I can tell you that HTTP protocol is uh, 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 it's actually a hypertext transfer protocol, and it basically establishes a TCP connection between browser and the server. It sends a request. It can send four type of usually six types, but generally four types of requests: get, post, put, delete, then patch, and header, other options as well. And the server sends the response, and that's it. And the connection closes. So that's the life cycle of hypertext transfer protocol or HTTP request. Now, what WebSocket does is it extends this HTTP connection, and actually it allows for an extended connection that kept open, and even server can send messages or data to client. Client can send to server, so a bidirectional communication, and uh, that can happen in near real time. Um, Theoretically it's real time, but practically it's still like there might be other factors that could delay things. So WebSocket is the first thing, and the other thing is this PubSub PubSub technology. So if someone is not aware of PubSub, so it's like you can say that we make a channel, and for example, there is a channel, we can name it feeds, and then there are certain clients, certain news aggregators in the world that want to collect news from that feed on our website. And so what they will do, they will subscribe to that channel, or and whenever we need to, we have a new news article, will publish data to that feeds channel, and that in that, like in this way, uh, that will be uh, 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 that will be fed to all the news aggregators that are looking for that. So to support that PubSub, like Rails doesn't have a natively support for this functionality. So what Rails does is it relies on either a Redis, either we need to configure a Redis server, because Redis provide this PubSub functionality. We can define channels in that, and publishers and subscribers in that, or at the moment it's used Postgres. Uh, Postgres' PubSub functionality. So these two adapters it supports out of the box at the moment. The next thing is Rex Socket Hijacking API. So just at a higher level, what it does is it basically allows application to to uh, like to hijack the socket connection that is made between client browser and the server, and just after that you can use it like for bidirectional communication. So there are only three. There are three, like three mentioned web application servers. Basically, we support this socket hijacking API. WebRig does not support that, so we cannot use WebRig with for ActionCable. So okay, so here's a picture to explain WebSocket uh, protocol. Here we can clearly see in the left-hand side that a client basically sent a request to server, initial WebSocket request, which is HTTP 1.1 request initially, and then with an upgrade message and a connection upgrade thing. This is the like extended part, and the server which supports WebSockets, it then opens a bidirectional connection, on which server can send data to client and client can send data to server. So in that way, server both can do real-time communication with the client, plus it could occasionally send push notification as well, as long as the connection is open. So there are few terminologies that my audience should be aware about to understand action cable. PubSub, I have already described that. I can describe that again. So if, for example, if we have a requirement where a news feed is to be published and certain news aggregators can take news from that feed and either like whatever they like to do, they can put in their database, they can show it to their users or do certain other machine learning on that, whatever. So to serve that requirement, there could be a pub sub mechanism established such that we can make a channel. We can name that feed, and on that feed channel, then the news aggregators will subscribe to that on our server, and that that subscription will keep the connection open. And as soon as the server would have a new news article, server would publish that to that feed channel. That will be consumed by those news aggregators who have already subscribed to that channel, and then they can like do whatever they want that um, with that news article. So uh, and still the connection will be open. So if a new news article came afterwards, it can be published again. It can be broadcasted to users. So this is simply a publisher subscriber modeling. And in that, of course, there are two other terms, subscriber and the publisher, which are like implicitly described, but to be more explicit, connections are the subscriber, and publishers basically are who will be the publisher. Channel primarily will be the publisher. Some application will publish a channel, and then channel will publish to all of the subscribers. Uh, so the next thing that will that is of utter importance is what can we do with it? Like, okay, we have action cable, good. We have publisher subscriber model, good. So for which things we should use it? For example, we can build standard APIs with simple HTTP protocol, and we can do a lot of stuff with that. So should we start using action cable everywhere? The answer should be no, and we should need to know the use cases where action cable would be more appropriate, or if action cable should be used or not. So I will list a few uses here. So one obvious is chat, although I do not like that much because uh, uh, we don't need much chat application nowadays. We have like very good um, chat APIs and platforms already built. So, but that's just for listing that if someone needs some kind of chat application for that, of course, Action Cable is a good thing. The other thing is serving feeds, serving live feeds, as I gave example multiple times. So, um, uh, for example, if any news channel, for example, BBC, like need to serve their feeds, and the news aggregator need to get it in real time, Action Cable would be a good um, choice for implementing such a requirement. Another thing is push notifications. So, for example, if server need to send push notification to different browser clients, for example, that are connected to it, or any like We already have push notification APIs for mobile devices, so it's not a good example for that. But if server need to send push notification to browser devices, um, in that case, it would be wonderful to use ActionCable. Um, it will provide everything that we basically need. So after this session, what we will be able to do. So we should know what ActionCable is and its history. We should know what's under the hood, uh, how ActionCable basically make it happen. What I think there's one more slide to it. Just give me a second. Um, so I'd like to show you um, a general architecture and the modules, how they are working together. So here's the term cable. Cable is simply the upgraded connection between browser and server. That's one connection and many channels. That should be like that. And then there's channel. Channel is like streaming channel clients that can subscribe. Streaming channels clients can subscribe to. Channels have a name which can be dynamic or that doesn't matter. Browser would our client will always know what is the channel name it need to open a connection with. A subscription is on the client side. It happens on the client side. ActionCable provides tools for the client side as well. I'll um, point you to the resources from where you can see such great examples. So a subscription is JavaScript side, and you subscribe to a channel and handle when you receive data, and if you need to do a bidirectional communication, you broadcast something back to the server. And what server do is server can broadcast to a channel, and that message will be sent to all of the clients that are waiting or subscribe to that channel. So that's general architecture how ActionCable works. Um, and then we were talking about what viewers will be able to do after this session. So we'll know about what ActionCable is and its history. We know what's under the hood. We know its use cases. So now any of the listeners might be able to do a good discussion in case of in any interview they will be asked about ActionCable or its architecture or what's under the hood and stuff like that. So these are the great resources that one can consult if they want to practice or do some hands-on on the ActionCable. So one this is a good article by BHH, and this is an ActionCable demo actually, which you can simply follow the instructions, and then you can see how different components of the code are working in that. And similarly, ActionCable README is another good resource. And then here we have ActionCable examples. That's a repository that has some that's provided by Rails, and that has some ActionCable examples, which can be which you can experiment, and a lot can be learned from that. That should be a very good starting point for anyone who want to get their hands on with ActionCable stuff. So that's like concludes this discussion. Let me see if we have um, okay, great. So we don't have any questions. Uh, Feel free to leave comments on the video even. I'll try to get back to that even after this session. And uh, you can connect with me on my LinkedIn. And if you have any real specific questions, I'll be happy to help it. Thank you so much. Take care.